Greetings, everyone. If you are dating, single, want to be married, don't know if you want to be married, then you are tuned into the correct show. This is Before I Do. We are here to tackle issues related to dating and relationships here in this particular day and age.
Yes, this show is intended to be interactive. So locate your nearest chat feature area. We want to know your thoughts and your feelings about today's show, which is online dating. Textual fantasy. Even I had to say fantasy that way.
Just the way you said it, pretty much, I know everybody out there is like, wow, this is going to be a good show. So for those of you who have been joining us for the past few weeks, we have been talking about online dating and discussing various aspects of it. And so tonight, we're actually going to be focusing on text combined with the fantasy aspect. So what is created? What are some of the things that draw us to this online world? What is it that we're actually looking for? What keeps us there? What draws us? And so it's been a really interesting time as far as with us really diving into dating and relationships that are conducted via the internet.
And so really, we just really want to tap into the fact that it's been more important to connect. We have this need to connect on a deeper level. And guess what? Because of our online availability, our access to online dating apps, and just really to communicate with the global, more globally, right? With people across the world, not just people across town, right? Then we have more access. So with access, it allows us to cultivate a deeper level of intimacy, understanding, and connection with other individuals.
Absolutely. And even when it comes to online, one of the offshoots of that is, as we know, is the telephone system, which over the years has also become a messaging system, not just voicemails, but with things like text message, SMS, which is short messaging system, which is now becoming more important, as important when it comes to online. So over 98% of adults in the United States have access to mobile devices, which feature text messaging. In the U.S. alone, over 272 million smartphone users. Now, whether you're team iPhone or whether you're team Android, the bottom line is that for most adults in these United States, text messaging and being able to actually communicate with individuals via the phone, not just calling, and definitely, again, not voice message. I didn't know until a few weeks ago that it is not preferred to actually leave a voicemail. And most people now prefer that you send them a text message rather than leaving them a voicemail. Yeah, I'm a little older.
You can do it, but you're going to be judged for it.
I understand.
I've been on the other side of that judgment. I love voicemails because I love to hear the sound of their voice and things like that. But definitely text messages are big. So our topic today again is textual fantasy. And I added a little word. So we're gonna put our first question out there. A first speak now or forever hold your peace question. Number one is, what is your textasy or your textual fantasy? And so to break that down, we know we have the word text in there, right? So what is that text message or that text fantasy that really does it for you? It's that message that it makes your heart skip a beat in the middle of the day when you get it, or that text message that you can forget time, space, who's in your presence in the moment. Like, I needed this text today and it came from the right person. What is that text message that speaks to your soul? It tickles your funny bone, or that text message that just, I don't know, it really does something for you. You needed it that day.
And also too, it's important that I know that when most people think of fantasies and sexual, it always comes across as something vulgar and profane, and it does not necessarily have to be that way. That's not what we mean at all as far as with limiting that. But with utilizing text messages, text meaning words, utilizing words to create this atmosphere and this feeling and this connection, reaching out to someone.
Okay, so we want you to put that in the chat area. That is our speaking now forever hold your peace question. What is your textasy or textual fantasy? It is either through text. What is a message that just, man, I received this message once, either from my partner, my spouse, right? And it just really does it for me. So, you want to take a brief break, or we want to do our social experiment?
No, I think we can come back with our social experiment, but absolutely. So yeah, we're going to take a brief commercial break. Remember to respond in the chat with your answer to our first Speak Now question, and we'll be right back with more Before I Do. Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Before I Do. Tonight, we are talking about online dating with a focus on textual fantasy. And so tonight, our Speak Now first question is, what is your textasy or your textual fantasy? So, for example, when we talk about things that could be your textual fantasy, we're talking about a message that you receive that causes your heart to beat or to skip in a positive way, something that makes you forget about where you are, who you're with, or what it is that you're doing, but a message that actually speaks to your soul, a message that may cause you to laugh, something that's funny. I know a lot of people are really into memes, something that piques your curiosity, something that taps into your intellect. Yeah, you like
I like that.
Something that taps into your curiosity or your intellect. So put that in the chat. I think we've got some. Oh, okay. All right. We got David with a couple of responses. Hey. David says, I think of you, or I'm thinking of you. All right.
Yes. And that happens. We're going to ring the bell for that one, David. That is a very popular text, almost on one of the most important and popular text messages that one can receive. I am thinking of you. To know that that you are on that person's mind is very powerful.
Absolutely. Next one is from Renee. Renee says, sweet dream. I'm going to let you say it.
Oh, snap. All right. Renee says, sweet dreams, baby.
All right. Can you ring the bell for that?
I gotta ring the bell, Renee. That's right.
Now notice how short these questions are. Notice how short these comments are, though. So again, they are insinuating, but again, they're not necessarily vulgar, but they are very short, and just the implication, the spirit behind it got me stuttering.
I know.
But just the implication behind it, can evoke so much within you being able to receive and see that message. Okay,
we're going to do a quick social experiment, and we need your help. Renee, David, we need your help. Okay, so these are pulled from some resources and websites that say these are text messages that can make your man obsess over you. So I just want to put it out there. Get ready, right? Get your pen and paper down. We're going to try this out. Now, Walter's going to ring the bell if I share. If he were to receive a text message like this during the middle of his day, yes, would this make him obsess over me? Ladies, would I have him on my string, right? So, guys, I want you to confirm. You can correct or confirm or say yay or nay. Like, no, that doesn't do it. All right, here we go. Here's one. Okay, so you got your phone, Walter.
All right.
You get this message in the middle of the day. We need some background music, yes. And you get this message, and this message says, let's skip work and just lay in bed all day. Okay, that worked. What about this one? What about this? You can be my dessert tonight. Okay. What
type of dessert we talking about?
Okay.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Strawberry cheesecake. Yeah, that's because that's your dessert. What about this one? Guess what I'd do if you were here with me right now?
You know what? I would ring the bell for that. I got to pause on that because knowing who I'm married to.
That's right.
It's like, guess what you hear? I would have you to clean out my car. Or I would have you take this trash out. That's what I said.
It would not be entrapment, but for the record, you better know your partner because you might get hoodwinked. Okay. All right. Your turn. All so, right, ladies, I have the bell now. Right, and he's going to share some text messages with me, that I'll let him know if I would like to receive these in the middle of my day.
All right, now let me get my voice right. All right, now once again, ladies, these are text messages that you would receive from your partner that if they were to impact you in a positive way, you know, you would enjoy receiving these messages. All right. So you ready for number one?
Yeah.
All right. And there ain't nothing we can't love each other through. What would we do, baby, without us?
That sounds like a song. Okay, that's a throw. It sounds like a throwback song.
All right,
but I'll take it.
Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Good morning, beautiful. Have an amazing day.
Yeah. I love you. Yes, I love you. Good morning, beautiful. Yes, it means you were thinking about me at the top of the day.
All right, you ready for the next one? All right. Next one is, you see me at my best, you see me at my worst, yet you love me anyway.
Yes. Yes. Whoo. Because what it's saying is, you've been for me. You've been here for the good, bad, happy, and sad. I love it.
Absolutely. So yeah, those messages.
Oh, I got a witness. Renee's like, yes, ma'am.
Renee is blowing up,
ma'am,
in the chat. Absolutely. Yes. So again, when it comes to text messages, when it comes to reaching out, texting, right?
Yeah.
You know,
we gotta get some shirts.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we gotta get some shirts.
Don't steal that idea. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. So when it comes to utilizing, again, when it comes to utilizing electronic devices and text messages, those are things that you can actually utilize to enhance your relationship.
Absolutely.
So utilizing that to your advantage, again, taking out time during the day, and it can be an important part to building intimacy and anticipation for those of you, again, who have a physical relationship. And when it comes to foreplay, when it comes to, again, those things, when you're looking at engaging with your partner, and when you get home and excited, building that type of anticipation, texting can be a really integral part of that.
And you got to follow through now. Yeah. You can't be texting and getting things all warmed up.
Yes. You have to follow through. And
then you get stressed out at work.
We'll care what happens.
And then your partner come home and you like the Incredible Hulk. Like you can't show up that way. Guilty. Yeah.
No, I don't care about what happened after the text message, because and to be honest, right? Because sometimes those text messages are sometimes the only thing that's getting you through the day. But also, but to be fair as well, again, it shouldn't always be just a means to an end as well.
That's true.
Sometimes we have to be okay and satiated with exactly what the message is. Like being able to appreciate that, you know what, my partner thought about me in this moment. You know what, my partner took a moment and sent me this message, even if, again, when I get home, things don't transpire like I think they should. Like just being able to be in the moment and being able to appreciate the message that you got from your partner.
But it's nice every now and then to surprise your partner with the trench coat.
Yes.
Or surprise your partner, when they get.
Let me ring the bell for that.
When they get home, I'm speaking, I'm prophesying, I'm speaking into existence. Let him use you. The holiday is coming around.
Let him use you.
The stress levels are going to go down.
Somebody just caught it.
Won't he do it? Working through. You guys. So this month we've been talking about online dating. Yes. And so we have put out there some very popular platforms. I mean, and we talked about the importance of going to the platform that really serves and supports really what you're looking for. Some people are dating just because I want to date, and other people are dating to mate or mating, right? And what they call it. But there's something that when this dating, online dating really boomed, the industry called it fantasy work. And so we want to make sure that you guys are knowing that it was called fantasy work. And it was called that because the work of imagining situations. They know, and all of these apps and these big business corporations, they know that this is big business, right? To put these online dating apps and things like that, people want to create and they want to have a sense of control over their relationships, people, how they interact, how they engage. They want to pretty much be able to activate their imaginations and to really explore a broader economy of dating.
Absolutely. And what I was going to say, in other words, there's a broad and big market for your creativity, for your imagination. And actually what has happened with a lot of these dating sites, with a lot of these online systems, they've been able to really monetize what we have in our mind. when it comes to the fantasies, when it comes to the thoughts, when it comes to some of the things that we're oftentimes reluctant to share because we don't know if it can actually happen in reality. Now they've created a actual avenue and vehicle to make those things happen.
Absolutely. And our value system sometimes is largely based on, man, how many likes did I get, right? And are people drawn to me? And so they know that technology is shaping our fantasy and our thought processes about how we value ourselves and value other people.
Absolutely.
And that is largely monetized. So it is definitely pours into the capitalism, and because it is $1 billion industry, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
And so if you are, again, there are positive sides to online dating. We want to go into our second question, and we want you to think about this. Why is fantasy often more satisfying than reality?
That's a great question.
Come on, talk to us about that. I mean, why do we invest more in fantasy than our reality? Or do we? I don't know. You may not even agree with that statement.
No, I definitely do. And I think it's a great question. I think a lot of times, because of the obligations that we face in reality, especially when you're an adult, you've got a job to deal with, you've got bills to pay, you've got all of these various obligations, and reality can become so much of a chore that you're constantly looking for an escape. And I don't think that we can necessarily limit that to just technology. When you look at the fascination with sports, when you look at the fascination when it comes to the entertainment industry in general, like what it really is a form of escapism. It is a break from the monotony and the work and the challenge of dealing with everyday life. And so, for a lot of people, if they could live in that space of, being at a pro football game all day, if they could live in that space of their sexual fantasy, if they could live in the place of being on a vacation at their favorite place, they absolutely would.
Got it. And I will say that too, it seems like fantasy, from what you described, it kind of alleviates a level of responsibility, right? And so reality, there's accountability, there's responsibility, there's follow through, there's a whole list of things that come with reality. And you're saying that fantasy, you can escape some of that.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, we actually have a couple of comments. David and Renee are blowing up the chat. David says fantasy is more exciting and limitless. I think limitless is a very key word here. In that when it comes to reality, oftentimes we feel that we're in this bubble or we're in this box. And so remembering that when it comes to fantasy is oftentimes a place for us to gather these ideas and these thoughts in order to make them reality.
Absolutely. It is literally the playground of your imagination, right? And so you can create what you want. You can speak into existence what you want. You are literally in control.
Absolutely. And Renee, actually, speaking of escape, Renee said, because fantasy is a place where you can escape to with your partner and the release of the stress in the moment. So,
absolutely. Yes, ma'am, Renee. Oh, that my bell is broken, I think. There we go.
Right.
And I absolutely agree with you, and when we talk about why is fantasy more satisfying than reality, we have a couple of just different things we want to bring up to you that I find fascinating, right? So in an article, in the most recent article on digitaltrends.com, okay? So this article came out, and, I would hear when we talk about technology as using that for our Tech-xual fantasy, right? So using technology to really ignite and really accomplish some of the things we have in our fantasy. And it reminded me of back in the day when I would hear, information about why people love writing people in prison. And so there's an article that came up on digitaltrends.com most recently, right? And it's talking about how young women, and especially even teenagers now, they are going, they're pretty much putting videos and all kind of stuff on TikTok of them becoming and signing up, and I got to get this right, y'all, so I'm going to read it, writeaprisoner.com. And so they're signing up and they are really seeking that companionship. They're really trying to get that emotional intimacy. They're really seeking and craving the communication with people who are in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was this TikToker, and she's an influencer. She has about 50,000 followers. And then pretty much she said that she endorses it and that she is 20 years old. And she definitely is a big fan of writeaprisoner.com and this platform. She says because most of the men who are incarcerated are actually, they're nicer.
More respectful
and more respectful.
What she said.
Yes.
Please say that again. Everybody, we want you to hear what she just said, because that is absolutely profound.
Incarcerated men are so much more respectful. And so that's why it's appealing. This is why it's kind of, it's and not only is she doing it, and she's a young adult, but the issue is teenagers. And it's and this is what she said. Men on Tinder, Bumble, Hinge are usually straight and to the point, meaning they're straight and to the point, meaning sometimes straightforward, mm-hmm. kind of cutthroat. And she says in an interview, she says they want to hook up, and that's about it. She says they're always very vulgar, and it's such a turnoff. The incarcerated men are so much more respectful, at least the guys I've been writing. And she says they haven't been weird. They haven't crossed the line. They haven't made her feel uncomfortable. Men on Twitter, Bumble, and Hinge are usually straight. Oh, okay. So, yeah. So pretty much more respectful.
Absolutely. So it's a really fascinating perspective when you look at it, and we could attribute it to a myriad of different things. There are many people that would say that maybe privilege has a lot to do with it. When you think about a lot of the men that are on these dating apps and those who are not incarcerated, uh-huh. and being able to know that, hey, this is what I want, and I can go and get it. Whereas someone who is incarcerated, who their options may be limited, they have limited options.
So is it a reality or is it a fantasy? Are they really more respectful?
Exactly.
Or is it the fantasy? Now, the biggest thing that hit me is that since January, the hashtag Write a Prisoner has swelled to over 60 million views on TikTok. While teens are partaking in this trend, they don't think that they're in danger, and some experts, they're weary of the potential harm.
And just to be clear, we are not endorsing, mm-hmm. and we're not trying to discredit either one of these at all. We think it's just, again, something very fascinating and relevant to this idea of online dating and communicating via text and individuals. And so we really just wanted to put that out there. I thought it was something really interesting. Listen, y'all, you're tuned into Before I Do. We're getting ready to take another quick commercial break, and we'll be right back right after these messages. Thank you guys for tuning in.
When 45 men from all walks of life come together in one place for one purpose, there is a collective harmony that produces an amplification of power that leaves an impact on the lives of men that cannot be erased. A fraternity of legendary men, all at the tipping point, on the precipice of greatness, meeting for one weekend to turn their worlds inside out. For the first time ever, the Foundry experience. Not an event, not a seminar or retreat, but an opportunity to come face to face with the man you were always destined to be. If you want a life that's better than the one that you are living, meet us January 2023 for the Foundry experience.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Before I Do tonight, we are talking about online dating, dating via textual fantasy. Absolutely. So really having a really amazing discussion when it comes to some of the connections that are made via text messages and online with individuals.
Yeah. And it's so the fantasy piece again, why is fantasy sometimes placed more desired than the reality? And so we thank you, those of you who weighed in. And we even shared again, there's a lot of trends right now on TikTok where people are just, they're they're finding themselves using technology to date, to engage, to try to get that emotional intimacy, right, with other individuals, and to get rid of all of those things that sometimes can be a distraction. Sex. If I'm writing somebody that's in prison, you know what? Sex isn't an issue at this point, right? Well, how I woke up this morning is not a big issue as well. Even if he's like, what you got on right now, I can literally write down that I'm wearing something nice, sexy, attractive, right? Or the person has no access to me.
But one of the challenges I think it does present when we think about fantasy and reality is that it can often leave a person susceptible to scams.
Absolutely.
And this idea again of a picture and a portrait being painted, a perception that an individual is able to project that isn't necessarily true.
Absolutely. And so these are just a couple things we want you to keep in mind. If you're going to date online and you definitely want to partake in this fantasy, and you want to make sure that you're really, really clear about what you're getting yourself into, it's going to be very important that you be aware and that you
be aware.
Beware
and be aware. That's my phrase. Beware and be aware. Absolutely.
Okay. Yep. I messed that all up, y'all.
It's all good.
But it is really important to be aware and be aware.
Absolutely.
I messed it up again, didn't I? That's all right. All right. So these are a couple things we want you to keep in mind. All right. So there's some signs. These are just a few summaries of signs that you possibly could be a part of a scam. And so if you're going to engage online, there's a couple things that you need to know. The first is, if anyone professes their love for you quickly, we literally just started talking 2 days ago. It hasn't even been 48 hours and you already in love with me, that's a problem.
Absolutely.
If they claim to be from the US, but they're overseas on business or they have military service, again, sometimes those are some red flags as well.
Absolutely. If a person asks for money and they're trying to lure you off of the dating site. So in other words, they're trying to pull the conversation away from whatever dating site that you met them on, that may be a red flag. Also, if they claim to need money for an emergency, hospital bills, travel, if they have any of those type of requests, then that is a telltale sign that you may be dealing with the scam situation.
And lastly, if they plan to visit, you guys already have plans or whatever, and we already have a plan, and then at the last minute they pull out and for some reason they can't show up, that's a red flag as well. That you possibly are being scammed, even catfish possibly.
That's right. Yep. So really important that we pay close attention to those. And often, and I know that in having this conversation, it's like, wow, that sounds like that has nothing to do with dating. It has everything to do with dating, because what happens is individuals will utilize the emotional tie and connection and really use it as a way to scam and to scheme to get money or other things out of an individual.
So again, don't get so caught up in the fantasy, right? That you miss some of those pretty much the reality, right? Of those indicators that sometimes your gut tells you, right? You want to pay attention to that. These are just a couple of comments and things that might pop up when you're starting to get a little sense that you might be being scammed. One is, oh, I can't meet you, I'm sorry, they're always canceling. Or my money is stuck in a really bad legal problem. Or can you help, ? Or please, my love. Again, always utilizing words to indicate or to express love. And it's like, really, we just met.
And I was just going to say,
we just met.
And those type of messages usually will come like a few days or weeks after you've met them. And so they on their end, they hope that they've built a strong enough emotional connection, or at least a strong enough of an interest to engage you in that way.
Absolutely. And just so you know, again, we talked about this being $1 billion industry of online dating. And again, it works for some people. There's some great stories and some amazing things, but we also want you to know that, if something like this were to happen, that, we all have a responsibility because it impacts us all.
Absolutely. So you'll notice that in the chart that you see on the screen, that when it comes to scams, they have actually exponentially doubled over the years. You see it starting at roughly a few million. The screen is pretty small on my size, but 17% report Reports of romance scams have hit all-time highs in 2021, and you can see the growth over the past 5 years.
And the Federal Trade Commission, they expect us to report anything like this. And just so you know, it went from like 56,000, and really it cost us over $500 million when things like this happen. So we want to just be very careful. And making sure that we are really supporting each other in the process, because you don't want your loved one to be scammed.
Yeah, and bearing in mind too that when someone else is scammed, you actually pay a part of that cost as well. So it's not like just that individual is being scammed, but oftentimes that results in higher rates.
Absolutely.
That results in things that really impact all of us when these scams are successful.
And so there's just a couple of, again, to kind of make sure you're protecting yourself, right? That nobody legit ever asks for help by asking them to send cryptocurrency or giving them a number on a gift card or wiring money. So if these are literally indicators that there's a scam going on, and you want to talk to your friends and your family about this new love interest that's in your life. Pay attention to their concerns.
Absolutely. And make sure you investigate the individual that you're interested in. If they have various profiles, make sure you go through, you're looking for any inconsistencies between some of the things that they're saying and some of the things that you're seeing. So making sure that you do your due diligence and not just taking their word at face value.
And then there's something called reverse image. Do a reverse image search of their profile picture. And then that's where, if you find out that there's some things that pop up that don't match, then you'll notice that that's a scam as well. And so again, we just had to put this out there because we want you to protect yourself if you are dating online. Again, people find love every day on online platforms, but we also want to make sure that we are supporting the safety and how you interact.
Absolutely. So you want to leave them with a story?
Yes. So psychology.com, they just put out a story about actually a journalist who really, she got caught up in kind of this textual fantasy and textasy situation,
which ended up being a textual scam, just as a spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So it started off where she was engaged, marriage, the wedding date was set, announcements out, white dress. We are days away from the wedding, and the groom calls it off. So, of course, the bride's family knows, it's public. Everybody has the announcements. It's days before the wedding, and it's not happening. People book their tickets, to travel. And so the bride pretty much was humiliated. And so because of that, she got into a new relationship, right, with this guy who was, his profile picture was amazing. He actually was served in the military as a pilot. And this whole thing in her mind popped up like, oh my God, this is like dating Tom Cruise and Top Gun. He was fine. All of her coworkers said, oh, he is handsome. And they started talking and engaging, and he wanted to keep things kind of private, because he said he was a very private person. She wanted to keep things private too, because she had just she's trying to bounce back from this public humiliation of her wedding being canceled, right? And so things were good. They were talking, they were spending time together, online, right? Getting to know each other. They had 1 or 2 trips, so she wasn't being catfished. She knew that this person existed. And then one day, she went to sleep and she woke up with a ring on her finger. Yes. Okay, nobody's with me because you already gave them the spoiler alert.
We've seen that a few times now.
Okay, so it went so fast. Once she woke up with that ring on her finger, I think it might have been a month or 2 later, they got married. They exchanged vows and they got married. She married her Tom Cruise Top Gun. She's taking pictures in front of the big aircraft that he flies, and et cetera, right? And then one day she says, in the facing reality part of this article, she said they were in a car driving or going somewhere because he traveled a lot for work. So he was not home a lot. And then one day he picked her up from the car and there was a headband in the back seat, like a headband that a woman would wear, but not her. But he said, I would never do anything like that to you. I don't even want you thinking like that. Clearly, that got back there somehow. Okay. Fast forward, she was making a purchase at a store. something came up or a receipt came up on a statement and with an address where something was shipped. She left the store, drove to that address, and she found out that he literally had a whole nother situation with a whole nother woman across town. And so she felt horrible that she had married this guy that was in a relationship with another woman, and he was not her Tom Cruise, and it was not a Top Gun situation where, so the fantasy crumbled and her reality kicked in, and again she felt betrayed. And so she said she allowed herself to get caught up in this Top Gun. He's a pilot, she allowed herself to feed into, I guess I would say she enhanced his persona.
Well, that's the power of fantasy, is that it draws you in because you want to believe.
Got it.
She wanted to believe in the fantasy, so much so that she ignored the red flags and some of the signs that were telling her that there were some other things that were going on that she needed to be mindful and aware of. So that was one of the reasons why we wanted to share that story with you, is that absolutely it's great to fantasize. It's great to send those messages. It's important to have that type of dialogue and interact with someone that you're involved in, but also making sure that you have a foot in reality as well, that you're asking the right questions, that you're doing your research, that you're checking, because that is a part of you protecting yourself and protecting your heart. That is a part of making sure that you are not setting yourself up for disappointment by being negligent in your own safety
and your own reality.
Absolutely.
Yes, because you are living in your reality and want to make sure that you are safe and protected in that. Now, the story does have a happy ending in the sense that, of course, she divorced him and next, left him. But she did eventually find love with a gentleman who was about 10 years older than her. They both wind up having a son and just really enjoying life. So she didn't give up on love.
Absolutely. That's
she
important.
Didn't give up on love and what she wanted to see. So continue. If you have a heart to be in a relationship, speak into existence what you want. Definitely be responsible in going for that and not allowing fantasy to override the reality and the signs that you're seeing.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining us for Before I Do this evening. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and download the Couples Academy app and book us for a session.
Book us for a session.
We would love to speak with you, whether it's individual or you are a couple in need of some counseling. We would love to speak with you. Again, on behalf of the Couples Academy, my name is Walter Jennings.
My name is Charmaine Jennings.
And thank you so much for joining us tonight for Before I Do. Good night, everyone.
All right.